A very good morning to you. Welcome to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television. I'm Jeffrey Ozawa. It's a brand new day. Today is what? World Cup Day.
The 11th of June.
It's World Cup Day. It's World Cup. I just wanted to remind everyone that it's World Cup Day.
Indeed, it's a beautiful color spread on this side of the divide, and here's wishing that your day is just as beautiful as this color spread. Welcome to your perfect morning starter. I am Bukola Koka.
And I'm Kaido Kikiolu. Let us get right into it. Major talking points, I must say, but since Jeffrey started on a sporty note, yes, it's the day of the World Cup. I really don't have a horse in the race or anything, so I wish...
You must have.
I don't.
You must.
Well, I can only have the green, white, green, and it's not in the race, so it's fine.
Oh.
But we wish all of the teams, all of the nations who will be playing there the very best. This is going to be a big test for the Americas, particularly America, the United States of America, to see just how they will handle and conduct this FIFA World Cup business, right? Yes, I know Canada and Mexico will have their own work cut out for them, but all eyes on America, and it was good to see the Super Eagles showing yesterday. All of this conversation will happen at the end of the show, right? So don't worry, we have a fully packed show for you today. But perhaps we begin from security matters, and this one is another security incident, this time in Kogi State, north-central Nigeria, where we understand that a deadly attack by suspected bandits on government secondary school Ilukebunu in Kababunu local government area of the state has left 3 people killed, including a vice principal and a 6-year-old boy. Well, the incident occurred around 10 a.m. yesterday and was heightened, or rather has heightened security concerns in the community. We have an official statement from the police. In fact, the spokesperson in the state, ASP Saliu Afusat, said that the attackers who arrived in about 40 motorcycles, and this is something we have seen time and again. The modus operandi is almost the same. Arrive in motorcycles, storm the community in large numbers, this time school, with the suspected aim of kidnapping students and other residents in that community.
Well, the command goes on to say that the division swiftly activated a joint security response after receiving distress calls from the area, and operatives from the division, the police mobile force, and other tactical units were said to have been deployed to the scene, and military officers and local vigilantes already operating within the area also joined the operation. However, this may have been a little too late, as of course, as you have already heard, this resulted in the death of at least 3 persons, including a vice principal and a 6-year-old boy. Really sad. We commiserate with the pupils, the students, the teachers, and all staff of this secondary school in Ilukebunu in Kababunu local government area of Kogi State. Again, it speaks to slow response time of security agents to challenges like this, and the modus operandi that has been spoken of time and again, the deployment of motorcycles, by terrorists to perpetrate their heinous activities, their crime. When will, an audit of motorcycles coming into different states of the Federation be carried out, such that we know those that have been deployed, to aiding and abetting crime, those that have been deploying to ferrying, tools that criminals use to perpetrate these criminal activities. That is long overdue, and that must be interrogated. Again, we hope that the Safe School Initiative, which will also form another part of our conversation today, will be strengthened in all schools, because it appears as if these soft targets, time and again, fall prey to the hands of these bandits. We hope that we don't have to return, to talk about yet another attack on schools. Jeffrey.
I just, what again are we going to say? But anyway, I would just say that we must unite. I agree that we must unite against terrorism, but government must show a stronger sense of responsibility and action is even now worrying that they are targeting schools. It's like when we sort this part, they go to the other part. So there's really not much to say. I think government knows what to do. Let's just do what we have to do. And what we have to do as quickly as yesterday is not to allow this incident to happen in the first place. Because when it happens and they become like a shield for these terrorists, it becomes very difficult, very, very difficult, because the government is not going to go full force to go and kill everybody, including the terrorists. So we must look for a way to mitigate so that it doesn't happen in the first place. It's just sad that we come here every day, every other time, and this is what we have to be dealing with. So tomorrow now, are we going to read again that one community school or one school somewhere is being targeted? Should we just close down the schools for now? And won't that be like surrendering to terrorism? So it's a bit complicated because we've not done what is right. So as a beginning or as a starting point, let's upscale, upgrade our intelligence. You know, if you see movements that are not, everybody is almost a suspect right now. Because if they declare emergency on security or on insecurity, that simply means that if the military goes out, the police goes out there and they suspect people that are doing these things and they can confirm by their own intelligence and assessment, they take you out immediately. Are we there yet? I don't know. I'm not a security expert. But these targets are being successfully moved or killed is very worrying, guys.
And I must say that this is being viewed as a win, partly a win and a loss as well. Because if not for the intervention, if you listen to the residents, if not for the intervention, which some of them even described as swift intervention of security, police, the military, and even the vigilantes, which sort of at least saved them from mass abduction, then this perhaps would have been worse. It is sad that lives were lost. In fact, we understand that one of the attackers, the terrorist, was neutralized while one of the security agents was injured in the shootout. So the community is actually seeing this as, well, it could have been worse if not for the intervention of security operatives. And this is what we want, without the loss of lives, naturally. So we must commend the security agencies, the collaboration, and we look forward to them staying ahead of these attacks. So once you see any movement wherever, you caught it before it even gets to these communities. So we must commend, we commiserate with the families of those who lost their lives. It is very sad. But we understand that we're writing exams in that school. Imagine going to write your, is it WAEC, and you end up being abducted. It will have been a terrible story on the front pages. It is a sad one, definitely. But at least we must give commendation where it is due, coming from the residents themselves, who commend the security operatives for the swift response.
You know, with death, it's difficult to see things differently. Yeah. Trust me, the government is doing what it can. What we maintain is that they are not doing enough. I think that's where we stand. I think maybe all of us, maybe journalists, citizens, government themselves, will become desensitized. That when we hear two people killed, one person killed, we're like, okay, it's not as much as somebody's mom, dad, son, father. Somebody has left this world forever. And the pain is going to be there, not because they were ill or so. They just went to school to do legitimate business and they are no longer with us. I think we'll start appreciating life from that point. We're going to approach everything literally differently. Welfare of citizens, security of citizens. I keep mentioning with the war in Iran, when that gentleman, the pilot, whatever happened that he landed inside Iran, Iran was coming for him, America had to. America spent conservatively between $200 to $300 million, do that in Naira, to rescue that pilot, that Air Force guy. That's sometimes when America does this, they are trying to send a message that every life matters, and I think we should do that. But commendations where it's due, but it's becoming one too many. And I can't wait for state police. Let's see where they can help. And away from that, we also saw something different that happened around, I don't know whether the producer has this. We understand that a particular aircraft actually, missed the approach. Let me go to the exact statement. Kyle, if you can help me with that. Yes, I'm trying to get, yes, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. So this is I think it's a private jet. According to the NCA, has received preliminary reports concerning this incident around the Asaba vicinity, where information indicates that the aircraft conducted a missed, that's what is called in their parlance, missed approach at approximately 7:43 local time while attempting to land at Asaba. Subsequently, the aircraft reportedly landed on a roadway instead of a runway in Oguashioku area near Asaba. Reports received from personnel at the scene indicate that all occupants safely exited and were transported by road. And the aircraft had 4 crew members on board at the time. No injuries were of passengers and crew have been reported. Well, we understand the aircraft has been grounded. So, Kaido, what happened was that they call it missed approach. He maybe was supposed to land at the airport for whatever reason. He didn't land at the airport with the passengers on board. He landed on the road, normal road. I think that road is under construction. I think it's one of those concrete roads that the government is building. And if we listen to the soundbite, you see how people were terrified for the takeoff, whether the runway was long, the roadway was long enough for it to take off. But I understand the pilots, license seized, I think the aircraft grounded. I wish we can hear when this aircraft took off. Yes, this is the point. That's exactly, I was hoping we could go to the point where the aircraft, yes. So if you hear the guys were literally exclaiming and say, oh, they were really terrified whether the runway was long enough for the aircraft to, you know, the velocity that is required.
Yeah,
that's
so
the point.
It. Well,
Take off now. You don't take off. You don't go. You never go. Don't go. Don't go.
Well, looks like pleasant drama for us to, you know, laugh over right now. But that's also comes with a sense of gratitude, because it could have been an entirely different story if we were talking about a busy traffic, you know, route. But thankfully, that's not a busy traffic route. And as the NCAA has already said, the action of this private aircraft constitutes a violation of the Nigeria Civil Aviation Regulations and is currently under investigation. And that aircraft has now been grounded by the regulator. It's cheery to note, but I would like to know more details about this particular incident. What's a missed approach, you know, for reference purposes, for future conversations in case it happens again, which we do not hope that it occurs again. And of course, it's important to also know who is the owner of this private aircraft, who are the crew on board, who is this pilot, you know, that has taken responsibility for this particular aircraft. To what extent, you know, is the level of professionalism has been reflected in the conduct of this aircraft, because safety, air safety is critical, and this, you know, sort of borders on land safety as well because of this missed approach. But hey, yes, another story to tell this morning.
We're just happy nothing happened. You can see the guys literally exclaiming and saying, God, I hope it took off. Well, from here, maybe we'll get to the Senate, where there's this usual back and forth, guys, over. The Senate has now summoned, is it warrant of arrest we should call it now, on Mele Kyari. The anger of the committee, they say they sacked about 9 times or so, but neither Mele Kyari nor the new CEO, Bayo Jilare, has showed up, and they feel disrespected. And what is the crux of the matter is about financial spend, or the finances, or the corporate finances of the NNPCL. There was an argument. So right now, I don't know where to place the blame. Is it an accounting issue or a trust issue? So for those who are not familiar with numbers and not comfortable with it, let's break it down the simplest way we can. when you have your corporate books or your inflows and outflows in terms of your finances, you have your receivables, that means money you're expecting because you offered a service and somebody's indebted to you or you gave goods. And that account payable, your own liabilities because somebody offered a service or you have to make some contribution. In this case, NNPCL, maybe cash calls and all of that. When you put the monies together, it's about 210 trillion. NNPC says from their books, accounts receivable is about 107 trillion naira from a certain period, I think about a 10-year period or so. I can't remember the exact time. And account payable is about 103 trillion naira. That means the expenses they made is 103 trillion. What they are receiving is about 107 trillion. So the only lag there should be maybe about 4 trillion, something they call like flushing. So that's what they are saying is not missing. Well, the senator said it's unaccounted for. Perhaps the Senate is not even satisfied with that explanation. Come and explain yourself further. I think the honorable thing for the NNPCL to do is to come with the entire team and respect these gentlemen who are representatives of the people and explain themselves yet again rather than this back and forth. Now they have willed, they just decided to use their powers to summon them or issue warrant of arrest so that they will come and answer questions. In fact, Oshomele's words to the person who represented the NNPCL was not nice to them at all. In fact, there was that back and forth. He called them House of Thieves. He called them they have a bad reputation and all of that. Guys?
Well, you know, the devil is in the details. By the time you begin to look at the accounts, the numbers, if you look at it well, you find things. But yes, the NNPC Limited has been responding. By the way, the Senate's basically ordered the arrests of Mr. Mele Kyari. So we'll see how that plays out. But the NNPC Limited was also present at that particular interaction. And, you know, during the period under review, according to the NNPC Limited, that's 2017 to 2023, the total revenue for the NNPCL, according to the representative of the company, is 54.5 trillion naira. And they've not even deducted production costs. So for the NNPC Limited, they're saying it's not possible for 210 trillion naira to be unaccounted for if what came in was about 54 trillion naira. Now, while there's that back and forth, and we need to see the audited accounts, which, by the way, the NNPCL says, well, we have audited accounts to show for it. What is even more worrisome for me, Bukola and Jeffrey, is the statement made by the NNPC Limited representative saying that, you see, for 40 years, the accounts of the NNPC were not prepared, not published, and not even submitted to the Auditor General. 4 decades, 40 years. I saw that and I squirmed. Do you know what it means for 40 years? So, I don't know.
You know, following this round of demand for the former GMD of the NNPCL to appear before the Senate, I had to go back and watch some of the videos of the prior appearances of Mr. Mele Kyari before the Senate. And, you know, he has appeared to defend the budget. He has appeared in the past to defend the OVH purchase, I believe. He has appeared in the past, you know, over the probe of the Port Harcourt refinery. He had cause to talk about, before the, you know, the Senate committee, he had cause to talk about issues bordering on illegal insertions, you know, into you know, official government crude oil pipelines responsible for crude oil theft. He has had cause to talk about in the past concerns over the, you know, surveillance of, you know, critical national assets by non-state actors. You know, he has had cause to talk in the past over issues that may be revealed, that may be shocking even to the National Assembly itself and to the entire nation. We've had to see House of Reps members, you know, address the press talking about embarking on probes of crude oil thefts, that they were going to the creeks, you know, to probe crude oil theft. What has come out of those probes? What has come out of the probe of the Port Harcourt refinery, the 1.5 billion naira spent, on the revamping of that refinery, and past sums spent on the revamping of the refineries that we have, the Warri refinery, Kaduna refinery, Port Harcourt refinery. So is this, another episode in the series films that we've been watching over the years? Will the National Assembly indeed follow up with outcomes if indeed there are people that should be prosecuted in the mismanagement of funds of the national asset that belongs, the collective commonwealth of Nigerians? The NNPCL belongs to the nation. Will there be significant outcomes such that there can be examples made of those who are saboteurs of the commonwealth of Nigeria? If there are, then we can begin to take the National Assembly seriously. If not, this will just be, another report that we may repeat next time without any significant result.
Absolutely. Let's hope that this is going to go somewhere, because it's not the first time we're seeing all these fights and back
Absolutely.
and forth. We saw the NDDC, what came out of it. So,
off your mic.
But there's a credit I will always give to Mele Kyari, because I follow what happens in the industry to the fairness of my own ability. It was under Mele Kyari we now had some level of financial report. I think from 2018, we recorded a loss of almost 800 billion. The next year we recorded a loss, and then I think by 2020 we started recording profit. And as at the last count in 2025, we're doing profit of maybe 5 trillion or so. So that is kudos to him. And I think if he has nothing to hide, as alleged, he just comes and explains himself. And then the people who did not have record will also come and explain themselves. Some have passed on, by the way. So, well, we'll take a break, guys. And when we come back after this break, we'll be looking at what the dailies are reporting. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Well, let's find out how the papers are reporting some of the big stories. And we're glad to announce to you that the chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analysts, Enugu State Chapter, is still in Lagos. And he joins us right here in our Lagos studio. Dr. Ambrose Ibuke, welcome to the Lagos studio.
It's good to be here once again.
Yeah. So how's Lagos treating you so far?
I'm not used to the stress anymore.
Interesting. Don't worry. It's going to get better.
25 years, so I'm not used to it.
Maybe we'll do you some amala.com before you return to Enugu.
No, I've gone to Amala Yahoo somewhere in Ojota.
Oh, interesting. Then there's no stress now. Well, let's exit the Amala conversation during breakfast and begin with, I'm spoiled for choice this morning, but let's see. New Telegraph. There's an interesting story there. A different an interesting interpretation from a senior advocate of Nigeria over the Supreme Court judgment that, well, if you like, did not give any resolution to the opposition party matter. Opposition now specifically PDP. Listen to this Supreme Court verdict. PDP can't present candidates for 2027 elections. That's ascribed to Professor Issei Sage. Says judgment puts aspirants' ambitions in jeopardy. Party that can't contest election dead. Alleges Apex Court created disorder in political system. Dr. Buki.
Well, I don't know why I'm not surprised. I mean, this had been the intention of those who were hell-bent on making sure that PDP is dead. I mean, just a few years ago, PDP was one of the biggest party. I remember the late Vincent Obola for the former National Secretary of PDP, boasting that the PDP will rule this country for 60 years. And they were the biggest party in Africa. So those megalomaniac statements and the arrogance of power, led PDP to where it is today. And this issue of party funding is a big problem in Nigeria, because over the years, from the Fourth Republic, we have found out that the people who run political parties are mostly not even the executive or national working committee. They are the people, the financiers of the party. And this has, the financiers have been emboldened and said they see it now as investments, as business investment. And when it doesn't go their way, even if it is against the party, they'll exert influence. And in this present time, we are looking at people who are exerting so much influence, who have the power to remove national chairmen of parties, you know, by some whiff. They just remove them and say, oh, okay, we don't want this guy, replace him with this guy. And that is what has been happening. For the PDP, it is so sad that a formidable party, just like the runoff for the 2023 election, they were still strong. They were still doing one or two things until they decided to play with the issue of zoning. Between this north and south thing in their presidency. They were the ones that introduced it in the first place. That's okay, let South do. And then when it comes to 2022, they said no, and that it will be thrown open. That was the beginning of their failure. So the Southeast, for example, felt disenfranchised and felt unhappy that they have given PDP all it takes from 1999, and when it came to time to see the possibility of presenting a Southeastern candidate, you say you are throwing it open. And for them to even give the ticket to a Northerner, after a Northerner just completed 8 years, shows that the party was hell-bent on some mischief. And we saw that play out after some time, factionalization, when the governor started leaving. Instead of trying to reconcile, they were hell-bent on pushing it to the precipice. So you now found out that there was an intentionality behind it to ensure that PDP is fragmented, PDP is, is dead, is killed. And they have succeeded in doing that. So all these things you see, all these gimmicks, faction, no faction, we did our convention, didn't do your convention, are all tactics to ensure that this is prolonged beyond the time the INEC allows for fielding candidates. And at the end of the day, they will not have. Look at the Anambra election. PDP was practically begging for candidates to pick nomination form. And the party was treated like a leopard. So I think that's the condition they have found themselves, and I think it's very deliberate.
But INEC is dealing with the Wike-led PDP, that their officials are the ones recognized on the INEC's portal, and they have presented a presidential candidate.
It is the same Wike faction that ensured that APC candidates emerged in Rivers State. So it is the hand of Esau somewhere, and so I think the game plan, the grand game plan, is to ensure that they don't present a candidate. And that is what is already working out. It's worked out in Rivers, it's worked out in so many states. A lot of the governors have crossed over. So the PDP, that is it. It's not just it's a carcass. So it depends on the vultures who are trying to wrestle for the carcass.
Right, let's take a look at the Vanguard newspaper. That leads with a story we started with as well. Terrorists kill vice principal and two others in Kogi. Edo shuts schools. That's Vanguard newspaper's big story. 3 students abducted, that's according to the community. Police intensifies manhunt for fleeing terrorists. Attackers came in army uniform. That's credited to the state government. Pandemonium in Mina as parents withdraw children from schools over fears of terrorists' invasion. And northern, southern, middle belt leaders call for security emergency. And of course, you have that story. I don't know how you describe it, maybe a silver lining. Reps to vote on state police at plenary. And Mr. Ibuke, we're seeing consistent attack on schools. And this is almost like 2014 all over again, even though we're in 2026.
There must be something that emboldens these terrorists to do what they do in broad daylight and such a massive scale. And that thing that emboldens them seems that they seem to be aware that maybe the Nigerian federal government doesn't want to tackle them. Because if there is a fear of consequence, you won't go and do the wrong things, even for law-abiding citizens. So one begins to wonder what happens to our surveillance equipment. I've argued before that where the ingress and egress of those people, where they're coming in from, and where they're going out, when they are going out, should be within our satellite mapping, should be within our surveillance radar. Why are they not, pinpointing where they're moving? When you move people like that in mass scale, I mean, it's a lot of effort to move that number of people. Yet, it is very disconcerting that these people just move around, do what they do. But my biggest shock is that we are not outraged as a people. The country is not shut down. I can number of students. Look at Ibadan. What happened in Ibadan just recently? Look at what happened in Kwara. What happened in Niger, everywhere. Yeah, no. What is happening now is that we are not even outraged, because in some countries, when this kind of thing happens, there will civil societies will come out, the citizens will come out, they will ground the country to a halt in protest, which is a legitimate tool in democracy, and picketing to ensure that the government does something. But now nothing has happened. Nowhere has been picketed. There's no outrage. Only a few people did demonstration. NUT came out. We felt that it was an NUT affair. So if we continue this way, the politicians will continue to give us a template of press conferences in the name of, oh, we are deeply sorry for what has happened. We will mobilize resources. The president has given directive. They will flush them out. We are sending troops. You know, those are cliches we have heard, statements that are like, it's already a template, you just fill it in, depending on the location where the things happen. Because there's no outrage, and these things have continued, and they will continue. If 200 and something students, over 200 students can be abducted in broad daylight, in fact, some people have said that, some people who enter night bus, who have interviewed sometimes 2 weeks ago, they argue that it's even safer to travel at night. I said, why? They said because they find out that the issues of report of kidnapping at night, it's not as much as what happens in the day. But as funny as the thing looks, when you look at it, you start thinking, look, most of the kidnappings were in the broad daylight. And what emboldens these people is because there are no repercussions, there are no consequences, there are no counter-attacks in this
case, speaking specifically now, so present the full picture, there was response from the troops. In fact, from the community, they are thankful to the troops for responding because they think it would have been worse off. Sadly, 3 people died. Right. We understand that one of the terrorists was neutralized and one of the security agents was injured in the shootout. So it's almost like, as we said earlier on, a win on the one hand, but a bigger loss on the other.
While I commend the security agencies for, in this case, I always repeat that we should not wait to be reactionary. There are what we call preventive measures. We are not going to wait till people attack. We know, see, in the conflict mappings and architecture, you already know the areas. These people are, put in a forest. The agencies should know where they are. Why not prevent them from even moving? Prevent them from having this, attacks. Disempower them, disable them, incapacitate them from even acting. That is what we are talking about. It's not every time this will happen and you say, oh, our troops are pursuing them to the forest or we counter-attack. What happens to preventive strikes? What happened to even not allowing these people work at all? At this stage, that's what we're doing, because our security agency cannot police all our schools, they cannot police all our public spaces and all those things. So the best thing is to ensure that those people don't even have the capacity to move out from where they are to attack.
So let's go to this Nigeria. Senate orders Kyari's arrest over 210 trillion naira missing funds. They quoted that because that's the controversy. Oshomole, ex-NNPCL finance chief clash during probe. Well, when we started the comment, I said, is this a question of understanding of corporate finance or a question of trust, or what is this?
Well, I remember Fela singing in the song titled Army Arrangements. When he said the money was missing, they set up inquiry, they said the money no loss, they dabaru everybody, they close the inquiry. That song was sung around 1978. 78 to now is 48 years. We are still in the same issue, the same agency. Now, what has happened is that it is corporate recklessness. Look, our NNPC has, let's call it age mates or contemporaries, or let me use the word colleagues. Petrobras in Brazil is a national oil company of the Brazilian. Gazprom in Russia is a national oil company, just like our own NNPC. Our Saudi Aramco is a national oil company. Now, when you, I forgot the name of the one of Venezuela. It's doing very well too. Now, when you compare the way these companies are run, they are state companies. They produce go to Saudi Aramco, they use the highest technology to do what you call precision and instrumentation engineering. From exploitation, from extracting the crude oil, till the last mile where the petrol attendant sells it into your fuel tank.
They can track it.
They can track it. all their pipelines are intelligence, sensor driven. These technologies exist. We can do it in our own place, but we have refused to do it. I've spoken to some 1 or 2 persons highly placed in the oil and gas sector and say there was even a time presentations were made to NNPC for this thing. These things didn't work. So then, secondly, a policy that allows a parastatal of government to take in our resources, spend whatever they want to spend, and remit the balance. Let me use the street language, remit change, back to the government coffers, is as absurd as it can be. So it's just like saying you bring money and then let's say, for example, National Revenue Service, you bring in the money, spend whatever you want and then remit. I think it's only the NNPC that was giving that kind of leverage. Why was that? Over the years. So NNPC just declares whatever they want to declare into the Federation account. And we have told that so many years they didn't even declare so many things. And then they are maintaining bogus refineries that don't work, doing turnaround maintenances over the years, paying salaries to people who are dysfunctional or not even functional at all. So why wouldn't there be malfeasance of this kind of magnitude in NNPC? Because the federal government created that as an octopus of corruption to be able to. So all this talk about Melekere, of course, they always want a fall guy, in all this. This is not the first time we are talking. Over the years, we have been on this discussion. They will make noise like this, some things will happen, and then it will fizzle out again, and we begin all over again. So it's a cesspool of corruption, and unfortunately, it's our culture.
Well, there's a sad one. We can only be optimistic that when next we have to talk about this, there'll be progress. Your laughter says it all. All three of you.
Wait,
Dr.
Ambrose, you say something funny? Why are they chuckling? The chuckle is telling.
Why are you chuckling, Kari?
Because they started chuckling. So
because I know most of the time nothing will come out of it.
So.
Well,
and unfortunately, it's not a Christian arena where we have hope and faith.
The Guardian newspaper talks about state police. It covers what the Deputy Speaker has been speaking of in the last 24 hours, but it will take us to our next conversation. We must anchor at this point, and thank you very much. Dr. Ambrose Ibuke is a chairman, Guild of Public Affairs Analyst, Enugu State Chapter. Thank you for coming on the Morning Brief.
Thank you very much for having me again in the space of 1 week, but I'm going back.
We have more Amala for you.
If we do, we'll take a break and we'll be back. Stay with us.
That's a legitimate bribe.
Well, let's continue with our conversation around security. While we've reported, the ongoing security, advancement in Kogi State, trying to, hopefully get the attackers of the school who ended up killing 3 people in Kogi State yesterday. We must also speak to what happened in neighboring FCT, Abuja. And by the time you do the mapping of insecurity in Nigeria, you begin to understand the movement and the activities of these terrorists. But we're glad to tell you that what we have from the FCT is some cheering news, as we understand that the police have rescued 5 kidnapped victims and neutralized 2 suspects. And to get a sense of what's happening and how we can replicate this, because these are the kind of stories we want to report to Nigerians. We're joined on the program by the Commissioner of Police, Schools Protection Squad Force headquarters in the nation's capital, Abuja. Bayomi Shogunle joins us live from our Abuja studio. Dr. Shogunle, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So
there is that big operation that we saw in the FCT, and there's been commendations here and there. But on the flip side, there's been the attack in Kogi State, which is just next to the FCT. Incidentally, this attack was on a soft target yet again, schools. So perhaps you can juxtapose these 2 events and the work that you're doing, because for a lot of people, Schools Protection Squad, they probably haven't heard about that before. So speak to us about the work that you're doing first, how widespread is the work, and the kind of results you're getting.
All right, thank you very much. I think before we continue, I would like to make a request that we should widen the scope of this discussion to securing schools in Nigeria, not just limiting to the Federal Capital Territory alone. because that's actually by the mandate of my office, of the unit I'm heading. Then coming straight to your question, you know, I will try to do 2 or 3 things this morning on your program. First of all, to give an explanation or to dissect what the security nature that we are currently experiencing, what is it all about, to give an insight, then also to give an assurance to the public. You know, looking at the successes recorded in the past few weeks and months in FCT, across Nigeria, in Lagos State, in Oyo State, you know, we're going to see that we have moved from a shift into actually confronting these security challenges, unlike what used to happen in the past, like some years ago, where you will only hear of attack, and for weeks, for days, all we'll keep hearing is that security forces are on the trail. But if you look at the news coming out from across the country, you're going to see that there's a shift in that. And the security agencies, the Nigerian police and other security agencies have been confronting all these bad elements every time they come out. And also, security forces have continued to be proactive in preventing a lot of attacks from happening, actually taking the fight into the forest, into the dens of these criminal elements. And then coming back to kind of giving an insight as to what we are saying now, is that you're going to discover that, you will notice rather, that since around the ending of last year, and in the past few weeks, since the security cooperation between the federal government of Nigeria and the government of the United States started, you're going to see that a lot of successful coordinated attacks on terrorist locations in different parts of the forest in the country have been taking place in conjunction with Nigerian security forces as well as the U.S. military. And in the hundreds of terrorist elements have been eliminated. Let me use the word that everybody is using, killed. They have actually been killed, because sometimes when we say eliminated or when we say neutralized, maybe some people are not getting the meaning of that word. And what it means is that several hundreds of terrorists have been killed. And the few ones, and these operations is going to continue, and in some few weeks, we're going to see calmness and quietness across the length and breadth of the country regarding these terrorist activities. Now, the few attacks, very few isolated attacks that we have seen, are being carried out by the remnants of these fleeing terrorists that are receiving heavy hits in their hideouts. And even at those few isolated attacks that we are seeing, because we expect that it's going to happen when such large-scale operations are going on, you will also see that security forces, Nigerian security agencies, have been responding in quick time to those attacks and also bringing those terrorists down. And let me say, each group that comes out to try to attack any facility, one thing we are bent on doing is that we'll make sure that they won't have that chance to repeat such acts again.
All right. We'll interrogate that position by looking at, the most recent kidnap and killing incidents in some states of the Federation later on, against the backdrop of what you have said. But talk to us about something that happens to be under your purview. And President Bola Tinubu directed the full implementation of the Safe Schools framework across the country. That happened on Children's Day. Now, help us understand what this National Safe School Response Coordination Center, what it looks like beyond this nomenclature on paper currently for schools across the Federation?
All right. Answering that question specifically, implementation of the Safe School Declaration is ongoing and has been ongoing. There's actually an implementation plan which covers the 2021-2026, and a new framework has been worked on and will be released. What it's simply doing, or what we simply do at the Safe School Squad, or the School Protection Squad of at the Nigerian Police Force, is to coordinate security for all schools across Nigeria. And how have we been doing this? We have been doing this in partnership with all educational stakeholders in Nigeria. Protection of schools is a whole societal or a whole society approach. That's the best way to go about it, involving everybody. And how have we been doing this? We have specially trained police officers cut across each of the senatorial districts in each state of the Federation. In each state, we have an assistant commissioner of police who is the AC operations in the state and also the coordinator of the School Protection Squad. We get intelligence, we work on intelligence, we get information from members of the public. We also have a squad that is responding should there be any attack. But basically, what the Safe School is, or we have been doing in the Safe School, is to being proactive, and a lot of attacks have been prevented on schools in Nigeria, and this has gotten international commendation from global educational stakeholders.
Pardon me, sir. If I may come in there, there are perhaps, you know, nearly maybe more than 150,000 public schools in Nigeria. Are you giving us an assurance that with the operationalization of this Safe School Coordination response team, you have officers to the tune of this number manning public schools, primary and secondary schools in Nigeria?
You see, the way security work is that that we have over 120,000 schools in Nigeria. Doesn't mean that we must provide 100,000 officers in each of the schools. You know, it's just like you have, you want to interview six discussants. That doesn't mean you are going to provide a journalist or a presenter for each of the discussants to ask them questions. You know, yes, I'm giving that assurance, and that schools are safe. Parents should send their children and wards to schools across the country. And that was the point I was about to make, because, you know, if we are the ones saying it, it will be as if we are praising ourselves. Just 2 weeks ago, one of the main stakeholders, global stakeholders in education, that's the group responsible for attacks on schools, and the African Union, and Save the Children International, they brought officials from 5 African countries to Nigeria to come and understudy what they call the Nigerian success stories. So that means we're doing something positive. All those things we're doing regarding the approach we are taking in preventing attacks from happening by involving the whole community, by involving every educational stakeholders in Nigeria, and by actually reducing attacks on schools, caught the attention of the global educational stakeholders, and they brought in people to Nigeria just 2 weeks ago.
Yes. My apologies, not an intention.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yes. There's no intention to cut your thoughts. Commendable. I want to believe that there are more prevention than incident itself, but they may not be out there in the public. These awards you talk about and people coming to learn from us is also commendable. But we have a lived-in experience as Nigerians, and it's a perception issue, it's an optics issue. And as far as perception and optics is concerned, from where I sit, we're not winning that war. I'll give you an example. Chibok, Dapchi, Papri, Orire, I can go on and on. You see that schools have been targeted and these guys have succeeded in abducting people from schools. In fact, the incidence of mass abduction, if not at #1, is going to be at #2 when it comes to incidence of mass abduction. Schools are always the big numbers, from Chibok to Dapchi to Papri, which perhaps is the highest, around 300 and something plus. So how would you define success in this context that I just listed?
You see, I'm happy that you started your question or your comment by using the word perception. You know, perceptions, as we all know, are not facts. You know, perceptions are not facts, and perceptions are subjective. Despite that, perception is still very, very important. I want to disagree with you with the comment that we are not winning the war. That's not true. We are winning the, since you have used the word war, we are winning the war against school attacks. And this has caught the attention of international educational stakeholders, such as the Global Coalition to Protect Education from Attacks, as well as the Save the Children. Now, doing a comparative analysis on some of the incidents you mentioned, Dapchi, the Chibok incidents, which is over 10 years ago now, you know, yes, security forces have learned from the way response was made to those cases. And based on the lessons that were learned, that is why you are now seeing a difference in how the few cases that have happened now have been responded to. Some of those cases you mentioned in the past, it took several years before some of the victims were even rescued, and some were not even rescued. Unlike cases that we have seen, the isolated cases we have seen in the last few months or 1 or 2 years, you are going to see that in all the cases that have recently occurred, the victims have actually been rescued, including that of KB in November.
Just a moment. We're winding down. I understand the optimism and all of these things. But trust me, I don't know whether you know that a lot of people are apprehensive sending their children to school in rural areas. That's on one hand. On the other hand, are we going to be celebrating speed of rescue or abduction prevention itself? What are we discussing?
You see, it is a natural thing for people to be apprehensive. It's a natural thing, you know. It's a natural thing, whether in the rural areas or in the urban areas. It's a natural thing, and we'll continue to give them the confidence. We have been carrying out confidence-building patrols to allay those fears that the situation is under control. Of course, when you mention that there are cases of negative case, and you are not mentioning the positive aspect of it, it is our own duty to also show what we have done. For instance, the incident in Kogi State yesterday, very, very unfortunate indeed, but again, it was actually prevented by the security forces. One of the attackers was actually killed as well. You know, if you look at the kidnapping in Ibadan, involving the twin school children on their way to school and their mom, you're going to see that within some days, they were rescued safely, and some of those that perpetrated that act were also neutralized during crossfire. Now, the one in Orire, coordinated efforts are ongoing, and God willing, in few, I don't want to say some things on national TV, but I know coordinated efforts are ongoing to rescue them alive as well. So I want to give the assurance that send your children, send your word, schools are safe.
Well,
then if there is any crisis or any information, we have a phone number that you can reach us. And this has actually helped in preventing a lot of cases and also responding to cases. And the phone number is 080-7735-7777. That's the police control center specifically dedicated for school protection. Get in touch with us. People have been calling us on this number, and we have actually been responding.
All right. So that's the number, 0077357777 for anyone to call. I just must say first, are you aware that WIC candidates were kidnapped in the Kogi school yesterday?
The statement released from the Kogi State Command states that the attack was prevented. That was actually the motive.
All right. So
unfortunately, 3 lives were lost.
Yeah.
One of the attackers was also killed.
All right. So you're saying nobody was kidnapped in that incident in Kogi State?
As at now, that is the statement from the Kogi State Police Command. As at now.
All right. Are you aware that
if there's updates, if there's an update, we all will get the updates.
All right. Because some of the community members say there's been kidnappings. Are you aware that schools have been shut in Edo State over some reports about planned attacks as well?
You see, unfortunately, we don't have control over whether schools will be for those closing schools. Education is under the concurrent list.
Right.
So a state government can decide to close their school. Okay. Even a private school can decide to say they are not coming to school. But what I will say is that there is actually no basis for those schools to be closed. No. Some of the reasons being used for these school closures are just unverifiable rumor.
All right.
Fake news that are going around. So again, I will also want to call on people that are spreading fake news because of political reasons and also because they want to make money from views on social media, that they should please stop spreading this fake news, because those spreading the fake news, they know deep in them that these news are not true. All
right. So this is, I imagine this is going to the government in Edo State that shut 3 public secondary schools in Akoko Edo local government till further notice. So you're saying that perhaps it's unfounded and they should open those schools. There's also the case in Mina where there's pandemonium. Parents are not taking their children to schools. So it's important to highlight these issues as well as the work that you're doing. And this is a conversation we'll have time and again. You've put out your number. I hope that parents, even government, if there's no line of communication, can open that and speak to you. We have to thank you so much for your time. We're speaking with Commissioner of Police, Schools Protection Squad, Force Headquarters, Abuja, Dr. Abayo Mishongole. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So that number again is 0077357777, just in case. We'll take a moment now, and when we return, we have more for you. Stay with us.
Welcome back, and from there, we hope we've heard from the police. Yes, there are gains, but there are big issues as far as national security, or maybe we call it insecurity this time, is concerned. Everything is literally on the table. Literally, people are calling for maybe people should, defend themselves, license guns to individuals. There's a conversation around state police. So depending on where you look. But the National Assembly is also trying to expedite action on state police. But there are other issues as well. There are issues around the triggers, the drivers of national insecurity. It could be population, it could be the economy, it could be marginalization. So depending on who you are listening to, someone has a reason for taking up arms. And then there's a geopolitical element about taking our resources at a cheaper rate to exploit our resources, take it down there, refine it and sell it back to all of us. Insecurity and the issue of security is very complex and can be simple all at the same time. But at the center of it is government's willingness and power to do what they have to do. But as citizens, we must come together to unite against insecurity. And the political class sometimes are not even helping matters. We live in a country where it's very embarrassing to see that pre-election we see heightened insecurity. It's very shameful. But let's talk to a politician. Honorable Leke Abejide is the member representing Yagba Federal Constituency, is the House Committee Chair on Customs, or the Chairman, House Committee on Customs. Honorable, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning to you, Jeffrey, and others. Good morning, Nigerians.
Honorable, let's start with what we left off. So let's piggyback from the conversation we had with Mr. Shegunle about national issues. He talked about Safe School Initiative and some of the, efforts of government. But I also know that there are conversations within the National Assembly concerning issues around what legislative intervention can come through, one of which is state police. But I'll allow you to give us what you think are the things we're not looking at, which we must consider, because it looks like we've tried everything and we're about to try something else. Whether it will work or it will not work, only time will tell.
Thank you for having me once again. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. Well, the issue of state police will go a long way to help. Just like the person who just finished with you said, there are so many ungoverned areas in Nigeria. I believe, as a person, that if state governments, have state police and can fund them well, because that's another challenge we should look at, there will be less problems in terms of insecurity. And if you look at the advice from the DG of the DSS, I cannot forget, and I have a model based on his advice, and I'm going to see it after this. He said the community should be the first line of defense. How can they be? One, if you are living in my constituency, for example, where I have 71 communities, each community should have not less than 7 or 10 maximum of well-trained and 45 hunters who will be vigilant and always be on ground 24/7. I started this model in my federal constituency last year. We started December 2025, when we noticed that bandits were coming inside the communities, especially communities that are bordering Niger State, like a community called Isonlesa, Okoloke, Okuran, and then Egbe, and Ilafin and Idofin. These are communities that have borders with Niger State and partly Kwara State. So they were coming in from there. When I noticed this, I organized all the traditional rulers, about 103 of them, and I briefed them. I said, this is my intention. My intention is that we will have to form a squad, minimum of 55-man squad. And I appealed to the state governor, and also we asked for license from NSCDC for them So it was approved. And they have the arms and ammunition. And what they do, once they wake up, like this morning now, they will not sleep, they have a way of operating. What they are doing, they're not waiting for these bandits to come out. Once they sleep and wake up, they are going inside the forest to hunt for them. Not them now hunting for us. We look for them every day, and they are well paid. So they are motivated. They are really working, and that is how I was able to counter this issue. Though they are not enough now, I've recruited additional 45, making 100. This is the way to go for every community in this country. If we say only government should face this challenge, we are just joking. It will not go anywhere for now. We need to come out, those of us that are elected representatives of the people, put our own efforts to join that of government, and the result will come out. Just like I'm having results in my area now. So we don't have to sleep over it. Police, even though when we have state police and they are not well funded, they are still going to be challenged. In fact, if you give arms to somebody and then you are not funding him, you can use that arms against you as well. So this is not just about state police. State police is very good. It will help us man those unmanned areas, ungoverned areas in every state. It will help us a lot. But state governors should prepare that they have a lot of work to do by providing the logistics they need for them and also fund them very well.
But Honorable Abejide, some would argue that why isn't there a sense of urgency, although we have now heard from the Deputy Speaker that the framework for the state police has been concluded and voting will now commence. But insecurity is not waiting. Last week in your state, 30 travelers were abducted, while some reports quote one, was killed in Buno, I believe, area of Kogi State. So this template...
the same area where they wanted to kidnap the children yesterday. It's the same local government.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So this templates that you have applied in the areas that you mentioned earlier, why is it that same sense of urgency not applied in other areas, in other states of the Federation? Because some would say that your political class, the political elite, they are insulated from insecurity. You have security aids, some have private security, but the same sense of urgency is not applied in the approach to tackling these issues, hence the delay in the state police legislation.
I just said it. I said all of us elected representatives of the people, starting from even the councillors, the local government chairmen, the House of Assembly members, State House of Assembly members, and National Assembly members, to the governor. We have to wake up from our slumber. We have to, first of all, sacrifice. It's got me a lot of resources. I know not many people have that resources. But the little you have to sacrifice for the safety of your people. So there's no point to waste any time. In fact, the more you delay, the more the danger and destruction. As you are seeing it now. Like you said that they will lay a boss and they kidnap them. That is the next constituency to me. Yesterday, I just said, I am going to work with the House of Rep member there. We're going to try to replicate the same thing from our side, because if we push them away from the Yabafera constituency, they are going to move to somewhere that is close by. So it is better for hand to, Yoruba people say, back or that is, if hand touches hand, the hands will be very clean. So if, as we are pushing from our side, somebody is equally pushing from that side, and that's what I'm going to do. I started it yesterday. We are going to work hand to hand to make sure nothing of such happens. You know, we cannot cover the whole state, but this federal constituency that is next to mine, I must be involved. I have to work with them so that we have the same type of system to make sure we eliminate it completely. And it works very well. Once they are motivated, they can face the bandits. They have neutralized a lot of them and make sure the place is secure. They tried to come in few days to, they even came in. I don't know where they were coming from. They picked a woman and her daughter. But this says, the name of our own squad is called Lion Squad. They went after them and then dealt with them and then rescued the woman and the baby. So this is what we need to do. I believe in police, but these people, they are more fortified and now they can face any danger.
So honorable,
police cannot enter bush. Even the military, they will have a FOB in Negwe. But we have to say, okay, you are soldiers, you can stay by the road and be watching. We will go inside the forest to meet them.
Well,
and this is the way to go.
Honorable Abidjide, so, and I think it's good to hear some of the work being done, how communities are coming together, how government is beginning to think local, because these things start local, right? But just a few days ago, we also had the killing of the NSCDC officer in Yagba West, I believe, and the daughter kidnapped.
Yeah, that was the same day.
Yes.
I was telling you.
Yes. So we see these attacks, and as you said, you have the squad, and they're hoping to work together with other communities. But these challenges still remain. And I wonder for you what your interpretation is, because there are a lot of Nigerians who believe that the government knows where these people are, where these terrorists are, because you can't have a government with all of the apparatus of security and you will be able to say that these people are camped in this forest, this is how they are moving, this is where they are. So they strongly believe that government can't say we don't know. Security operatives can't say we don't know. With all of the budgetary allocations, no way. Even everyday Nigerians can fly drones and see what's playing around them. Talk more of government, right? So how is it then that in spite of all that the government has at its disposal, these people seem to be operating freely? That's on the one hand. Secondly, what are they looking for in Kogi State? Why is there that ease of doing business in Kogi that they believe that, oh, this is a place for us to camp, take whoever we want to take, go, come back and wreak havoc? Why?
Well, I just said it that government alone cannot fight this. I want to say something which is very true. In this particular area where they wanted to kidnap the students yesterday in Kogi State, and where a bus was relayed and then the passengers were also kidnapped. It happened sometime that the people, even within the community, are the informants. So, except any area you see this type of thing succeeding continually, you have to check inwards. So people have turned it to be business as usual. They are making more money, so they don't even go to farm. They prefer to give information to the bandits, and the bandits, after succeeding in the operation, settle them. So we have to also talk to our people. That was why when we started our own, we invited all the traditional rulers and then give them the warning that government said we should tell them that whoever is collaborating with bandits in the forest or is providing logistics for them, whatever happens to him or her, because there are women too among them who are pretending to be selling items, whereas they are the informant to these people.
Well, have these people been arrested?
What you buy 1 naira, they can buy it 20 naira.
Have these people been arrested, Honorable, or these are just rumors? Do you have proof? Were they arrested?
Of course. That's what I'm telling you now. Some were arrested. They got to know them, and they were picked. And one of them, when he knew that his secret has come to open, he killed himself before he was arrested. So the security operatives are actually working. It's because their numbers are insufficient. That is why I'm suggesting that they need support from people like us, who God has raised up to organize these local hunters who are really working. Well, some of these hunters,
All right.
I don't know where they get their powers, but they can face the bandit face to face.
Is it with charm? Is it with local charm or with proper ammunition?
Of course. That, well, if you're a hunter, are you not a producer of charm? That's what they are.
Honorable Abidjide, let's maybe we'll make some progress, but before we leave the issue of security and within the short time we have, how soon do you think the entirety of this state policing issue can happen? Your party, now you're a member of the APC, has majority of governors, super majority in the House, although the defections, we're still trying to compute the numbers, but you have numbers to be able to pull any lever you want to pull. So how soon should we be expecting passage, public hearing, and eventually, because of the urgency of what we're dealing with?
I believe from the speed of light. Yesterday, I was here, and I was even listening to the meeting, the DAs, the Chief of Staff of President, the Attorney General, all of them, they are passionate about getting it done. If possible, within 2 weeks, if it can work. You see, President himself is the one pushing. That's to tell you that if we're able to pass the bill, even today, maybe the next day it becomes law. But implementation may be delayed from the state. And even the state too, they're supposed to know that there is danger. And they have to also work with the speed of the light to make sure immediately this bill is passed, they start operating it. And then I believe some states, like my state, I have my state governor telling me all the preparation he has made. I'm not going to say it's here on air. So, and it's really ready. We're just waiting for this bill to be passed.
Yes.
And I believe many governors too.
Yes, Honorable. So we have a short time, maybe about 5 more minutes. So let me throw in before my colleagues come in. Let's talk about some of the drivers of some of this insecurity. We can talk population, but we can also talk politics. Now, the leader of the national, Senate leader, Kwame Bamidele, is musing what we've heard before, the issue of single term, 6-year single term. This is not the first time we're hearing it, but it looks like he's raising that conversation. He says it's his personal opinion. After the 2027 election, he's going to raise it because we have found out there's a consistent data to show that before election cycle, there's a spike in insecurity. So it's only natural sometimes to suspect politicians, allegedly. So how much of single term, 6-year single term, can help stabilize the polity?
Well, I don't think there can be, based on my own personal opinion, I think that is, well, I don't think there can be any changes as much, because if I know, though it may help, but if some people, if they know that they are only coming for one term, and then they're going to spend 6 years, so they don't need the people anymore to help them for the next election, they may not even perform. They will just be there and wait for their own time to come and do whatever they want. So to me, actually, when the election is coming, there is always this type of rising insecurity. It will also be the same if you are 6 years in the office and the opposition know that at least your tenure is remaining 2 years. You can start bringing this type of thing. And the problem will still be there. So that is, to me, it's not a permanent solution to what we have.
All right, we could interrogate that, but let's milk this opportunity that we have to explore more political conversations.
And again, issue of population, sorry, you mentioned issue of population. If you notice, and even for many people that have been arrested, you see that they come from the northern Nigeria majorly, less than 95%. You see, the current Emir of Kano, Emir Sanusi, Lamido Sanusi, said it at a time and warned that the way our population is exploding more than our resources is dangerous for us. And a situation whereby you will see a gate man, a security gate man, not the one in the police or army, having 4 wives, giving back to 40 children, and don't train any one of them. And release them to the society. He said it. That his people fought him. That if you notice now, most of these people, because if you cannot give your child 1,000 naira, and somebody say, you should come and take 15,000 naira, that I want you to help me do, it will go. This is why it's very difficult to control in the north. We need to look inward and believe that we have done wrong and correct ourselves. Most of this country we are comparing ourselves to, saying that the citizens are enjoying, they plan for the population. They will tell you in China.
And that's part.
China,
land on that thought, sir.
In China, at the time, they said you must not have more than a child, because that's what the government can plan for. So after some time, they increase it to 2. That's what government can do. If you have more than that, it is not acceptable to them, and it's not even acceptable to the law. In the country. We should know that we should put aside tribal or religion and do what is right for ourselves so that we can have peace.
And that's part of the elephant in the room. And some would say that you may have been forthright to raising this, in a public engagement as this. But beyond that, we hope that, it can be held on national platforms as well, like the National Assembly, where you are a representative. But let's explore, other political conversations. Last month, about a month ago, you defected from the African Democratic Congress to the APC. You cited that the leadership of the party has been hijacked by the David Mark-led group. But prior to that time, during, an event that you had, the former Speaker of the House of Representatives and Chief of Staff had said at your event that he knows you to be a forthright person and that you do not accept injustice, that you should stay in that party and scatter them. That's what former Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila said, which has now become, a very popular reference in political conversations as far as the leadership crisis in the ADC is concerned. And we also saw you prior to that time with Mr. Nafiu Bala leading a protest to INEC headquarters, demanding recognition of Mr. Nafiu Bala as national, chairman of the party, and who had initiated suits against the ADC, challenging David Mark's leadership. So some would say that you have achieved that aim, that agenda of the APC by throwing a spanner in the works of the ADC leadership, and hence they are now embroiled in a leadership tussle at the courts, which poses a threat to them standing for election in 2027. How do you weigh in on this, your role in, some would say, scattering the ADC?
Bukola, I believe you know that I was the only one in Nigeria who has used ADC to contest election and won back-to-back. Nobody has done that. So I have been in ADC before these people came and destroyed the party completely. And Chief of Staff to President, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, was only joking. If we meant what he said, I would still be with them. So he was only talking and joking the way we normally joke. Even on our platform in the National Assembly, he's still there together in the Ninth Assembly platform, is still existing. When he was Speaker, we are still there. If you see what is going on, the way we talk to ourselves, the way we joke, the way That is his nature. And that is what he was just saying jokingly. And you see, I did not destroy ADC. It is those who came from PDP and the faction that came from APC and Labour that destroyed the party. Okay, now, am I the only one who left the party? As I left, Obi left, Nkoso left. They all left because they see that the people that are trying to manage this party don't mean well for the party because they don't have nothing to lose. They are not contesting any election. And they will just want to be there to use as a platform to cause distraction. I cannot stay in a house that is not clean. I will have to just jet out. When I know that these people have already finished, you see, as we speak, there are cases in court against them. Now they have about 3 presidential candidates. Tell me, who knows who will win in Supreme Court because that's the last point and the last bus stop.
All right, Honorable.
Who knows? Even though you have a ticket from Nafi Balat side, or you have ticket from, what is it called? David Mark and Arabiasola side, or you have ticket from Dumebi group, then who knows who will win when the case gets
Honorable, we'll keep interrogating the matter. Well, you've decided to run away and face your future. So now when we have you next time, we're going to be talking to you from...
I don't want somebody to truncate my future politically now.
No, next time when we bring you, we're going to be speaking with you only from the standpoint of the APC. Leki Abejide.
Okay, that's my political party.
Yes, member of the House of Representatives representing Yagba East, Yagba West, Opamoral Federal Constituency, and the Chairman House Committee on Customs. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeffrey, Kayode, and Bukola. Thank you and well done for the good job you are doing.
You forgot the former ADC landlord.
He's not the landlord, they are the tenant.
Or if you like, national leader, former national leader of the ADC.
Well, no, but to be fair, he contested twice under the ADC. So that's why he said, look, I know this party more than anyone else. But now that is history. All
right. Okay, so let's head to another equally important engagement. You know, we've explored security, but beyond the challenge of national security, there's also the economic aspect of, you know, what Nigerians are currently going through with the increase in the pump price of petrol, which has a ricochet effect on every other aspect of life, be it food and housing. Yes, housing, that's where we're headed. And in Lagos, it's quite telling what Nigerians, Lagosians are going through where housing is concerned, despite many housing schemes that have been initiated by the administration of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and, of course, prior administrations to this time. And you know, joining us to provide insight into the efficacy of the housing policy in Lagos is no other person than the Commissioner for Housing in Lagos State, Mr. Moruf Akideru Fatai, who's right here in our Lagos studio. Mr. Akideru Fatai, good morning, sir. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning, I'm happy to be here.
It's a first appearance, right?
Yes.
And we're glad to have you.
I'm happy to be here too.
So it's very important to begin with that regulation that has restricted collection of rent in Lagos to 3 months, and criminalizing also on the side of even the tenants from paying more than that. But it appears as if regardless of that regulation, the challenge of housing has not been solved. What template is in place under this regulation to ensure compliance?
Well, first of all, let me try to correct impression. It is still a bill. And you see that many people on social media went ahead of themselves, expressing it as if it is already law. It's before the Lagos State House of Assembly. And it's also an amendment to the rent law. There is a law in place as we speak. But what we've discovered is that that law is not really meeting up with the challenges that we face, especially when we talk about Lagos, a mega city that people are coming into every day. And we are unable to actually put a cap to the numbers of people that will be coming into Lagos, because we are a subnational. And when you have supply very low as against demand, then you are, a lot of issue will come up. And that's why government in its mind feels that we should look into that law. And then when you look at the situation all over the world, especially city, when you compare, Lagos, we don't benchmark ourselves with any other state in Nigeria. We benchmark ourselves against major cities in the world, because that is our vision, to be able to have that's one of our, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu government administration, this team's agenda, the aim in it, making Lagos the 21st century economy. So when you benchmark it, you see that there's need for us to have in place a law that will regulate and give confidence to both the landlord or the investors and the tenants in this sector. What we have now do not give that confidence. And then what we also discovered is that people tend to want to build to sell rather than for rent. Again, the financialization of housing, in the sense that speculation comes in, you build, you don't even mind renting it out, you are waiting for the cost to go so that you can sell higher. So the aim of that bill is to, first of all, give confidence, just as I said, to both tenants and investors, landlord, so that people will all understand the operations in terms of, if I build and I give it to tenants, these are things I want them out of my house, these are the procedures. If I rent, if the landlord wants to, these are the procedure. So that's the first thing. Then we are also looking at it from, nobody gets salary yearly. We are paid monthly. Then why should we allow culture of paying yearly? And that has put a lot of pressure on people. So the aim also is to ensure that you can pay monthly, quarterly. And if it is a year, that is, you have options. And again, if you are paying quarterly, the maximum time for dispute resolution should not be more than 6 months. And actually, what the intention of the bill is 3 months. And that's why it is going to be by originating someone, in the sense that all the facts will have been stated. There's no need for oral. So all the facts, as agreed, will be stated, and the judge will just go ahead and make a decision. So that is also a major part of that bill. And also, we want to ensure that there is sanity, that every agent must register with Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Agency, LASERA, so that we can bring sanity. Then again, the landlord, during agreement, there will be input there that the landlord can come to check his property at an agreed time, maybe once a year or twice a year. Then there's also allowance for virtual hearing. You cannot say because you are not around. When we have Zoom, we can call upon, and it can be resolved via virtual. Then if there is alternative, there is also input there. Already we have alternative dispute resolution in current process. But now, in many of the cases that will be coming under that law, whatever that is done under that process will also be looked into by the judge. If the judge look at it and see that it is. So the intention is just to quickly.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear some of these updates. And I know you spoke about 2 weeks ago that it's at the committee level. That's this new law. So hopefully, at least before the end of the year, it should have been passed.
Actually, it should have been passed by now.
Okay.
And I will tell you why. We cannot afford to get it wrong again.
But it will be passed this year.
By the grace of God, before the end of this administration.
Okay,
but,
I just wanted to get
let me because I need to also put it in perspective. You know, we have stakeholders. We have naives. We have lawyers. We have estate agents, which is the major challenge.
Which is where I'm actually coming to.
Okay.
I want to meet you there. So let's meet right there, because it's a major challenge that we have right now. If you look at the rent, the cost of rent in Lagos, some describe it as diabolical. Some say it is ungodly. The terms used for it, and you know how important housing is. It's at the basic level of Maslow's hierarchy. You need shelter. If there's no shelter, you're literally a homeless person. So are you happy? Let me just say, the Lagos State government, are you happy that rent for a one-bedroom apartment, for example, is 1 million plus? And you know the minimum
depending
wage.
On the area,
depending on the area. By the way, it goes higher. I've seen a certain index that puts some at 10 million naira, of course, for the extra highbrow areas. Minimum wage is 70,000 naira, Honorable Commissioner. Is it to the joy of Lagos State to see rent that high when the reality says otherwise?
Okay. I mentioned that when you have demand supply issue, the supply is so low, while the demand is so high. And when you look at other cities across the world, you will see that inflation governs the cost of rent. But in those other areas, maybe you have 2% inflation, 3% inflation. So when you have like 20 at a particular point, 25% inflation in Nigeria, and that affects cement, that affects iron, and all other things, you will see that people that are building in the private sector that we're encouraging to build, we have to build according, because they are there to make profit. Where I have challenge is those that have built theirs about 20, 30 years ago, and that we also want to increase at the rate of inflation. So one of the intendment of the bill is also to regulate how much you can add to a sitting tenant. The benchmark per year will also be stated.
What is it?
You know, when I say it's a bill, there are a lot of...
So what is the government using right now? What is the idea? So let's give an example. Let me give an example.
Let me give an example. If the inflation is like 20%.
Inflation is 15% now. Let's just say 16% now.
Like 15%. So when you are looking, then you now have to divide it into zones.
Okay.
You have the low income people, you have the high, and you have people who really build for business. Talking of Banana Island, talking about. So I will say, okay, if you want to buy Banana Island, you want to buy Eco Atlantic at market value. But the government believes that even if you have to build, if you are building in Paja and the rest, then why not look at it from the perspective of, like, if it is 7.5% increase. And that doesn't mean that's come every year. It should be like a benchmark of 3 years.
But that then means that the bill, the legislation, does not solve the problem of value. It only solves the problem of collection per time. That means that it only makes it a little more convenient for the tenant.
No, both sides. Because if you, as an investor, you have a clear view of what the financials will be. If I go into this, these are the things that I'm. If a tenant, if you have to take my tenant, if my tenant have to leave, this is stated how the process is clearly stated and everybody understands it. As a tenant, you have it at the back of your mind that if you are 1 month, if you pay monthly, then you cannot stay more than 3 months in that place. And again, unlike now that you say, okay, because you have dispute with your landlord, you will not pay. The first thing you have to prove if you are approaching the court is to attach evidence that you are paying your rent is up to date. So that gives confidence to investors too. But the bill is solving a part of the challenge. The other challenge is that we are using that bill to encourage more investment. As we speak, we have trillions of naira seated in the pension fund that they are not really
using.
They are afraid to bring into that sector. So the bill, if it becomes law, we are expecting that it will give investors confidence. Pension fund.
Honorable Commissioner, from what you said, it looks like what you're saying is there's a complexity and there's a dilemma. And what do I mean by that? There's the dilemma of government trying to say it's a capitalist economy,
exactly,
but it has social impacts.
Yes.
So people must be able to afford housing. So are you saying like Lagos, let's say Lagos it doesn't have perhaps a housing problem, it has affordability problem, or is both?
Both. Because when you have demand that far outstrips supply, then speculation comes in. And that's where we are now. And the stakeholders, we are having series of meetings with them that they also need to work with us more. If you ask them now, they will tell you they are working with us. We had, the Asara bill is over 10 years old, but we had some of them took us to court. But what we were, and eventually we were able to resolve those differences. But you also have lawyers coming into the real estate business, as well as the nice people also saying that lawyer doesn't have business in the. And it's one of those things that
Lagos is literally chasing the average middle income person out of.
No, definitely no. I will tell you why.
Yeah, that's the truth.
We build, and in most cases, our Lagos homes most of the time have the price that we're supposed to sell in the market. Not only that, we are also leading in the sense that, when we talk about rent, we are leading that sector. 5%, you put in your 5%. If we are selling at 10 million, you put in 5%, and you pay monthly over 10 years at 6% simple interest rate. The reason why it's not showing is because we cannot build. The way we build, we cannot meet up with demands. But that if the bill becomes law, it will also help us to encourage it, because the best way to go about this is through private sector. And to encourage the private sector to want to build for the low-income earners.
That's another part of the conversation that we must explore. Why those who really are in need of housing are not subscribing even to the Lagos housing scheme.
They do.
You would have to give us numbers to support it because of the evident accommodation challenge that we are currently experiencing in Lagos.
It's like we are oversimplifying
one of the commercial
the challenges.
Capitals.
The challenges is huge, but you need to see. Okay, I told you something about people coming into Lagos. The first thing we need is data. But as a subnational, how do we stop people from coming to Lagos? As we speak, people are coming and they don't intend to go back. Either they have the job they are coming.
And that's exactly
overpopulated.
exactly
Is Lagos overpopulated?
Well, you can say that, or you may not say that. But
no, it's one thing. Is it overpopulated?
When you have
for
huge population,
housing,
it is an advantage, and it also have disadvantages.
But there was a Lagos registration policy.
We must be able to use data to plan. When you have you don't have, the more you try to get data, the more it is the security challenges. So you can see the way
right.
we're totally out of time.
We want a part two.
Yes,
we want a part two.
Commit to us that you're going to come back. Apparently, we need almost an hour.
I'm surprised that we have
because we have another destination to touch. We must explore, that part of the problem that you say it has been solved, and the intervention of the Lagos housing scheme, to what extent it has solved the problem. So we are securing your promise to return to the program.
Before the month ends.
I'll be back.
Before the month ends.
So Mr. Moruf Akinde Rufatai is the Commissioner for Housing in Lagos State. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll take a very quick moment. When we return, to be time to explore sports, the World Cup. Cecilia Omorogwe joins us. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It is D-Day, and Cecilia Omorogwe joins us as we walk through the opening day of the World Cup. Cecilia.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
You even brought a ball for us.
Yeah, you understand it. There's a
you?
Freedom 2015 US Nation Nigeria.
Cecilia, Nigeria is not going to be at the World Cup, but talk to us about what this means, what you're looking. I mean, it's what it is.
It's what it is. Opening ceremony 8 p.m. Nigerian time today. Of course, it's going to be in Mexico. Mexico is becoming like I think it's the only country that hosted the World Cup 3 times. To be the 3rd time. Mexico, South Africa opening game. Remember 2010? So South Africa, Mexico, it ended goalless, and then it ended 1-0.
Right.
And I think that's for about 7 games that Mexico has played in their opening games. They've won 5.
That was in South Africa then.
And 1 loss. That was in South Africa, and that was also the last time South Africa appeared at the World Cup. This is their 4th appearance at the World Cup. Mexico is making their 18th appearance. So there's a big difference here. So for South Africa, I mean, everyone's going to rely on Lai Foster, but Lai Foster plays for Burnley. Burnley, went on relegation. He scored just 3 goals for Burnley this season. So, I mean, when you're looking at that, it shows they don't really have the firepower. But Mexico, as we know them, they're a team that kind of compact, and so it may be difficult for South Africa to actually break in. But they might want to draw inspiration from what Sifiwe Shabalala did 2010 World Cup when he scored that goal, the opening goal, and everyone was, buzzing with, hey, what can South Africa do? And at the time when they also beat France, at that World Cup. So you're thinking if they can replicate that performance. We've been 16 years, and of course we have new crop of players, around them. But I think in an opening game like this, 82,000 capacity or 88,000, because Mexico Stadium, the Azteca Stadium is very big. You're thinking, what can South Africa bring into the party? But I think the main thing is everyone is looking at the opening ceremony, performing, the artists that will perform, and all of it. But then on the field of play, it may just be one of those games that we really can't predict, because the expectation between South Africa and Mexico will just be, okay, you're repeating. I think it's the first time we're actually having 2 teams who played at the World Cup opener also playing the game. We've not had it before. It's always very difficult to see things like that. So it's a historic match. Whatever happened in this game, a lot of history will definitely be made, really.
Totally out of time. We're going to explore. So your prediction, I know you don't want to predict, but I know we're beefing South Africa because of xenophobia, but I'm still rooting for the whole of Africa.
Yeah,
so I'm still rooting for.
Remember, they top Nigeria group.
Yeah. So any idea of what do you predict will happen?
Yeah, I think it's 2-1 Mexico victory. Yeah, Kobe.
So do you think Argentina has a chance again? This is remember 86. This is like 40 years after.
Yeah.
Can they do it again?
They did it in Qatar, so why not?
I mean 40 years after.
Okay, 40 years.
I mean the 40th, not the one in Qatar.
It's possible, really.
To make it a 3rd one, that's what I mean.
Possible, because I watched the game they played against Iceland. I mean, Messi coming in as a sub, and you have other crop of players also coming in to chip in. I think, for me, I think it's really possible, really. I think my team this year is Portugal. I'm looking at Portugal. So what they do.
You're looking at Portugal, so you think they can actually deliver?
Yeah, they can, because they've got the players, right? It's just for them to put their hearts in order. They've got the players to do that. See what they did against the Super Eagles last night. Yes, we didn't have Osimhen, look more, but then I love what Akko Adams did to the defenders.
What if Nigeria was at that World Cup? Would we have made a showing?
Yes, because this is the first time we can actually trust the players we have. We've got the players, really. I mean, if you know what, when you finish the show, go watch the game against Portugal. That 2-1, Portugal won 2-1.
I didn't sleep because of that match.
The producer is usually chasing us out of the studio. But thank you.
We could have done better, really, at the World Cup.
Thank you so much. We're going to be having you a lot more because the World Cup starts today. And good luck to Africa. I'm rooting for the entire of Africa. But that's it on the program. Thank you for your time as always and your company. I'm Jeffrey Ozoma. Bye-bye. Well, I have a horse in the race circumstantially because of Africa, so I'll go for Ghana, whatever they get to. Let's support Africa.
I'm still supporting Nigeria. Well, I wish you a great day ahead. Thank you for joining us. Sunrise City is next. Goodbye.